So far we have been collecting information. There is a lot of unknowns we have than knowns. Now let's review what we have seen so far and let's try to understand a little bit more about everything in the coming lessons. So here we are going to summarize and review what we have seen so far. So still we are trying to understand these two programs. So this is the server and this is the client. From the beginning, we have done some modifications to the program, but not much. Essentially, it boils down to 2-3 function calls in Python. Other than that, nothing else we are trying to understand here. So to summarize what we've been looking at, we discussed the working of the program. We have seen how the client and server communicates. So what are the tools we looked at? We looked at netstat, then we looked at TCP view, then resource monitor. So we have found out these 3 tools pretty much gives us the same or similar info. Then we looked at process explorer from the sysinternals. Again, yet another tool from sysinternals we looked at, process monitor. And then finally we looked at Wireshark or network trace. So these are the different tools we looked at. So from process explorer we have found out some file handle details of the socket, file handle. And process monitor, among the other events, pretty much we saw the order of the function calls. Along with that, we saw TCP IP in the call stack. And in network trace, we have seen the actual data. The data which is getting shuttled between the client and server during this process while they execute. We have seen the SYN, SYNAC, ACK packets, 3 packets. Packets are nothing but chunk of data, numbers, ones and zeros, binary. So we have seen 3 packets, 3 chunk of data transferred during the connect and accept from the client and server respectively. And then we have seen the data transfer packets, the hello world and the hello world from server in push-ACK and ACK. So we can have n number of push-ACK and ACK. We'll see all those things in future, multiple push-ACK, ACK. And then finally, we saw the graceful termination, FINAC and ACK, both from server and from client, FINAC and ACK. So we have attributed these 2 packets to the close, socket.close in the Python. So we have attributed these 2 packets to this. And we also found out that whenever we are not doing this, when we terminated the program prematurely, non-graceful termination without calling close on a socket, we send a reset instead of fin from the respective endpoint, whether it's client or server, doesn't matter. As long as we are not calling a graceful way of shutting down the socket, we are sending a reset packet. We have seen that. So that is the short summary of what we have seen so far. Now, to get more into this, we need to understand how the operating system works itself. We need to get into something called layers of networking and the functionality of each layer of networking. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to learn about OS, a little bit of OS internals, device handling. Then we are going to learn how an application works inside an operating system. Then we will look at layers of networking. So I will not be spending too much time on the OSI layers. I feel the OSI layers are not very practical these days. This is more of a thing in the books. We'll discuss mostly TCP, IP, and the MAC layer. A little bit on the physical layer as well. So I'll discuss that when it comes to it. But right now what we are going to do is we are going to get into the operating system internals and how an application works inside an operating system. Most of these things are discussed in my computer fundamentals training. I will be giving you the link of that training in the description of this lesson. So this is the training I'm referring to. I'll be giving this particular link in the description of this particular chapter or lesson. So we are going to discuss operating system, device drivers, and device handling to understand more about what's going on behind the scenes. We are going to get into some details of things, not too much details, but some details to understand a couple of things in the coming sessions.